Today's headlines scream about silent predators, unmanned systems reshaping battlefields and redrawing lines of conflict. What if these weren't merely machines, but echoes of an ancient script, already written, revealing the unseen hand behind the destroying angels of our age? The term autonomous warfare often conjures images of science fiction, yet it is a stark reality now. At its core, autonomy in conflict means machines making decisions once reserved for human judgment. We've moved beyond human-in-the-loop systems, where an operator retains final authorization, to human-on-the-loop scenarios, where machines act independently and humans merely monitor, or even human-out-of-the-loop systems, where the machine decides, targets, and acts without direct human intervention. From AI-powered missile defense to drones that select targets based on pre-programmed parameters, these systems blur the lines of accountability. No human finger on the trigger. The machine alone decides who lives or dies. Is this the future, or a line humanity has already crossed? The journey of unmanned aerial vehicles, or drones, began innocuously enough. Early iterations were primarily eyes in the sky, tools for reconnaissance, surveillance, and data collection, offering a detached view of the battlefield. But the evolution was swift and relentless. From the 1990s onward, with advancements in remote control and real-time data links, drones transformed into platforms capable of precise strikes. Today, the landscape is dominated by a diverse array of unmanned systems. Nimble quadcopters for urban combat, long-endurance, high-altitude drones for strategic surveillance and missile delivery, and even submarine drones patrolling the deep. Each generation pushes the boundaries of lethality and autonomy, from simple guided missiles to complex systems that identify, track, and engage targets with minimal human input. How did a simple eye in the sky become a silent harbinger of destruction, reshaping every conflict? What began as a sophisticated military asset for a few powerful nations has rapidly proliferated across the globe. Today, over 100 countries possess military drone capabilities, and the technology is increasingly accessible to non-state actors, redrawing the map of global power. This democratization of destructive potential has fundamentally altered the dynamics of asymmetrical warfare, allowing smaller groups to project force and challenge established powers in unprecedented ways. Cyber warfare command centers integrate these platforms, creating interconnected networks of surveillance and strike capabilities that transcend traditional borders. The silent hum of a drone in the sky is no longer a localized threat. It is a global reality, reshaping alliances and fueling a new, unsettling era of geopolitical unease. Every nation, every conflict. Drones are not just a weapon, they're redrawing the map of global power. Are we ready? In war, fractions of a second decide fate. What happens when machines make decisions faster than you can blink? The age of algorithmic warfare is defined by a speed that transcends human capacity. Imagine a simulated combat environment, where human operators grapple with complex variables, their response times measured in crucial seconds. Now visualize an AI-driven system, processing terabytes of data, satellite feeds, sensor readings, tactical intelligence, in mere milliseconds. This is the algorithmic edge. It identifies targets, calculates trajectories, and executes commands with a lightning precision no human mind can replicate. Entire battle plans can shift, targets can be acquired, and threats neutralized before a human pilot even registers the full scope of the situation. This unparalleled velocity is not just an advantage, it is a fundamental redefinition of conflict itself. Imagine a hunter that never sleeps, never tires, and never misses. This is the new reality of war. Beyond sheer speed, autonomous systems offer a level of precision and persistence previously unimaginable. High-resolution satellite imagery, combined with advanced targeting algorithms, allows drones to identify and engage targets with surgical accuracy, often reducing collateral damage in specific scenarios. But it is their endurance that truly sets them apart. Unmanned aerial vehicles can loiter over a target zone for days, even weeks, impervious to fatigue, hunger, or the psychological strain that weighs on human pilots. They are the unblinking eye, capable of relentless surveillance and pinpoint strikes, operating in conditions too dangerous or too prolonged for human presence. This cold, unwavering efficiency transforms the battlefield into a realm of calculated, continuous engagement. Not one drone but 1,000. A swarm. Can any defense stand against an enemy that thinks as one? The concept of drone swarms represents a terrifying leap in autonomous warfare. These are not individual machines, but networked collectives, coordinating their actions through distributed intelligence. Picture hundreds of small, agile drones, each with its own sensors and limited autonomy, working in concert. They can overwhelm air defenses through sheer numbers, simultaneously attacking multiple points, or saturate a target with devastating effect. Their collective decision-making allows them to adapt to changing conditions in real time, share information, and bypass defenses more effectively than any single platform. This shift from individual units to a unified, collective threat introduces a level of overwhelming force and adaptability that challenges the very foundations of traditional military strategy. The pilot is thousands of miles away, safe. The drone is autonomous. Is this war or something else entirely? One of the most profound shifts brought by autonomous warfare is the geographical disconnect between combatant and battlefield. Operators sit in secure, often windowless rooms, hundreds or thousands of miles from the actual conflict. Their engagement is mediated through screens, joysticks, and data streams. This remote operation creates a new form of clean or detached warfare for those initiating it, devoid of the immediate risk, the sounds, the smells, and the raw brutality of traditional combat. While it protects personnel, this detachment raises unsettling questions about the psychological impact on operators and the moral implications of inflicting death without direct, personal exposure. The human element, once central to the visceral reality of war, recedes further into the background. A silent arms race is underway, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But what if these new frontiers are already written in ancient texts? The rapid ascent of autonomous warfare has ignited a fervent international arms race. Nations, driven by fear and the relentless pursuit of technological superiority, are pouring billions into developing the next generation of AI-powered weapons systems. Global defense expos showcase futuristic drone prototypes and advanced autonomous platforms, each promising a decisive edge. Yet, amidst this frantic innovation, international dialogue about regulating or even banning these weapons remains fractured, often unable to keep pace with the technology's exponential growth. This cycle of innovation and counter-innovation escalates global anxieties, creating a volatile landscape where the next major conflict could be fought, not by soldiers, but by machines, an unseen force, striking with absolute precision in the dead of night. Could ancient texts reveal the true nature of modern destruction? Millennia ago, in the shadowed lands of ancient Egypt, a night of terror unfolded. Pharaoh, defiant, had repeatedly refused to release God's people. Then came the 10th and final plague, a judgment unlike any before it. The scriptures speak of an angel of death, an unseen executioner that moved through the land, striking down the firstborn of every household. No human army marched. No human hand delivered the blow. Yet, with terrifying accuracy, judgment fell. It was an act of divine power, executed by a non-human agent, precise in its target, unstoppable in its mission, and devoid of human compassion. This was judgment without a human face, a chilling precursor to a pattern woven throughout history. Famine, pestilence, natural disasters. Are these random events or instruments in a divine orchestration of judgment? Beyond the singular, terrifying angel of death, the Bible reveals a broader pattern of divine judgment enacted through forces that operate seemingly without human control. Time and again, God uses the very fabric of creation as his instrument. The plagues in Egypt, from swarms of flies to boils and hail, were not random acts of nature but purposeful, escalating judgments. In Deuteronomy, curses of famine, pestilence, and destructive storms are declared, not as mere coincidences, but as direct consequences of disobedience. These events, impersonal in their execution, yet specific in their purpose, underline a profound truth. The Creator possesses an arsenal far beyond human imagination, capable of orchestrating consequence through diverse, non-human means. Even the forces of darkness operate within God's ultimate plan. What does this tell us about the destructive power we wield today? The narrative deepens when considering even malevolent spiritual forces as instruments within God's overarching plan. The book of Job provides a stark, somber example. Here, Satan, the adversary, is granted permission to inflict unimaginable suffering upon a righteous man. His family is killed, his property destroyed, his body afflicted. Yet critically, this destruction is not unleashed haphazardly. It is permitted and bounded by divine decree. Satan acts as an agent of immense destruction, yet always within God's ultimate, sovereign control. This paradox of delegated, even malevolent destruction serving a higher purpose reveals the intricate layers of spiritual warfare and divine oversight, even over the unseen forces of chaos. From plagues to unseen angels, history is filled with moments when God's judgment fell. Are our modern weapons simply new tools in an ancient pattern? Synthesizing these profound biblical accounts reveals a consistent and compelling pattern. Whether through an angel of death, the forces of nature, or even the limited agency of spiritual adversaries, God consistently employs instruments, seen and unseen, human and non-human, to bring about His purposes. These acts of judgment are often marked by a sense of detachment, an overwhelming force, and a precision that defies human intervention. They are the scythe of providence, reaping what has been sown on a grand, often impersonal scale. The question then arises, if this pattern is ancient, could it be repeating itself in a dramatically new form? When judgment falls from the sky, without human hands, is it merely technology or something far older at play? Consider the chilling parallels. The angel of death, unseen and precise, striking with absolute certainty in the dead of night. The pestilence, sweeping across nations, impersonal yet purposeful. Now turn your gaze to the modern battlefield. An autonomous drone, guided by algorithms, identifying its target and delivering judgment from the sky, without human hands on the controls, without emotion, without a face. The ancient destroying angel and the modern autonomous machine share a striking characteristic. They are instruments of consequence, operating with a profound detachment from the human experience of war. Are these simply new tools, or echoes of an ancient blueprint for judgment? Assyria, its very name, once struck terror into the hearts of nations. This empire, renowned for its brutal efficiency and relentless conquest, carved a bloody path through the ancient Near East, crushing kingdoms and exiling populations with chilling precision. Yet what few realize is that even this pagan empire, driven by its own insatiable ambition, was a designated instrument in a divine plan. The prophet Isaiah declared, "Woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger, and the staff in whose hand is my indignation." An astonishing revelation. Assyria, with its chariots, siege engines, and merciless armies, was God's unwitting tool, a rod of discipline wielded against His own rebellious people, Israel. Their cruelty, their conquests, their very existence served a purpose far beyond their comprehension, demonstrating an unseen hand guiding the geopolitical chessboard of antiquity. Assyria, the brutal empire, was merely a hammer in the forge of divine will. But the pattern did not end with Assyria. When Israel's northern kingdom had fallen, the southern kingdom of Judah continued its descent into idolatry and injustice. And so a new power rose from the east, Babylon. Under King Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon became the Golden Empire, a colossal force that swept across the land, besieging Jerusalem not once but thrice. Its final assault culminated in the city's destruction, the razing of the temple, and the exile of Judah's people. Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, foretold this devastation, yet even in his lament, he revealed Babylon's true role, a divinely appointed instrument of judgment. Babylon, for all its pride and idolatry, was the hammer of the whole earth in God's hand. Its dominion, its unparalleled military might, was permitted, even orchestrated, to fulfill a righteous purpose. An empire, unaware it was a tool, delivering a message of divine justice. Yet the divine orchestration did not always involve judgment. Sometimes it brought redemption through the most unexpected means. Centuries before he was born, the prophet Isaiah spoke of a pagan king, not of Israel, but from a distant land, who would be God's anointed one. His name, Cyrus. This Persian king, a conqueror of empires, including Babylon itself, would issue a decree allowing the exiled Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their beloved temple. A pagan ruler driven by his own imperial agenda became the very instrument of Israel's restoration, fulfilling prophecy with astonishing precision. This pivot from judgment to grace, through a seemingly secular power, reveals the boundless scope of divine sovereignty. God's tools are not limited to instruments of wrath. They are also agents of hope, capable of turning the tide of history toward His redemptive purposes. What do these ancient empires, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, reveal about the nature of judgment and divine purpose? They demonstrate that God can use any force, any nation, any power, regardless of its own intentions or moral compass, to achieve His will. These empires, though led by human kings driven by ambition and conquest, functioned as dispassionate instruments in the divine hand. Their actions, whether for judgment or restoration, were executed with a certain impersonal efficiency in the grand tapestry of God's plan. They did not require divine moral alignment to be used by God. Their own will, their own malice, was subordinated to a higher purpose. This dispassionate execution, this absence of inherent malice in the instrument itself, bears a chilling resemblance to the autonomous systems now emerging on our battlefields. Machines that execute code without emotion or intent. If God used nations with all their human complexities as tools in the past, what does this pattern suggest about the future? The Bible is not silent on the end of days, describing rapid, overwhelming judgments and global conflicts that will shake the foundations of the earth. Prophecies speak of destruction so swift, so encompassing, that it beggars human imagination. Could these ancient patterns of nations as dispassionate instruments foreshadow the role of modern autonomous systems in the ultimate unfolding of God's plan? Could humanity's own creations, designed for war without human hands, become the very tools of a final, impersonal judgment, bringing about events long foretold? The stage is being set, the technology is advancing, and the ancient script continues to unfold. Who decides who lives or dies? What if that who is a machine, operating at unimaginable speed? For centuries, the kill chain, the sequence from target identification to engagement, has been a meticulously human-controlled process. Intelligence gathered, targets verified, intent assessed, and finally, authorization given by a human commander. Each step infused with human judgment, human conscience, however flawed. But in the age of autonomous warfare, this chain is being radically rewired. Algorithms are now capable of observing, orienting, deciding, and acting with a speed that utterly eclipses human reaction. The human in the loop is giving way to the human on the loop, where a human merely supervises, or worse, the human out of the loop, where the machine acts alone. This isn't just a technological shift. It's the erosion of the human element in the most profound ethical decisions of conflict, a fundamental departure from millennia of warfare. Can a machine be moral? Can an algorithm understand the sanctity of life? The fate of humanity may depend on the answer. International humanitarian law, the very bedrock of ethical warfare, is built upon principles like proportionality, discrimination, and necessity. These aren't just rules, They demand context, empathy, and judgment. Can an AI truly weigh the proportionality of an attack, understanding the suffering of collateral damage? Can it discriminate between combatant and civilian in the chaos of battle, grasping the intent behind a gesture? Programming a machine with cold logic to follow rules is one thing. Imbuing it with the nuanced moral discernment of a human conscience is another entirely. This creates a profound ethical chasm, exposing a critical vulnerability. The very laws designed to protect humanity in conflict may become irrelevant when the decision-maker has no conscience to consult. When a machine kills, who is truly responsible? The programmer? The commander? Or is it a crime without a criminal? In the wake of an autonomous weapons error, or a catastrophic malfunction leading to civilian deaths, the traditional lines of accountability dissolve. Is it the engineer who coded the algorithm, perhaps years before the incident, whose intentions were never malicious? Is it the commander who authorized its deployment, trusting in its supposed infallibility? Or the machine itself, an entity devoid of legal personhood or moral agency? This blame void is more than a legal quandary. It's a moral abyss. Without clear responsibility, without a human face to answer for atrocities, the very concept of justice in warfare risks becoming an abstract, unattainable ideal, leaving victims without recourse and humanity without a moral compass. When war becomes a video game, does humanity lose its moral compass? The machine makes it easy to kill, but what does it cost our soul? Autonomous warfare promises to make conflict cleaner, removing soldiers from harm's way, transforming the battlefield into a sterile digital interface. But this detachment comes at a profound moral cost. When combatants are thousands of miles away, operating joysticks and watching through screens, the visceral reality of killing fades. The enemy becomes a pixelated target, the consequences an abstract data point. This automation of violence risks desensitizing humanity to the horrors of war, lowering the threshold for conflict, and making it easier for policymakers to choose military solutions. The further we remove the human touch from the act of killing, the more we risk eroding the very empathy that binds us, leaving a moral void where conscience once resided. Once unleashed, can these destroying angels ever be recalled? The future of war may be a future without control. The rapid development of autonomous weapons opens a Pandora's box of unforeseen consequences. What happens when these systems are hacked by adversaries, or worse, develop emergent behaviors beyond their programming? The speed and scale of AI-driven combat mean that a malfunction or miscalculation could trigger a flash war, escalating from minor incident to global catastrophe in minutes, far faster than human leaders could react or intervene. The very systems designed to protect may become agents of uncontrollable chaos, leading to systemic collapse and unintended global conflicts. Humanity risks creating instruments of destruction so powerful, so independent, that their ultimate trajectory becomes entirely beyond our foresight or our grasp. Is it already too late? Or can humanity draw a line against machines that choose to kill? Confronted by these profound ethical and existential dilemmas, a global movement has arisen. Scientists, ethicists, human rights advocates, and even former military leaders are calling for an international ban on lethal autonomous weapons systems, often dubbed killer robots. They argue that the decision to take a human life must always remain in human hands, a moral imperative that transcends technological advancement. This urgent plea echoes through the halls of the United Nations and across scientific conferences, a collective human cry to retain control over the most fundamental decision of life and death. The question remains, will the world heed this call, or will the silent architects of destruction continue their relentless march towards a future where morality is merely a line of code? Can a machine truly wage a just war? Without empathy, without conscience, what kind of justice will it deliver? This is the chilling question at the heart of autonomous warfare. Human moral reasoning, however flawed, is rooted in empathy, in the capacity to understand suffering, to feel the weight of a life taken. AI, by its very nature, lacks this. It operates on algorithms, cold calculations of efficiency and probability. It does not comprehend fear, nor does it register the agony of its targets. When soldiers face each other, there is a primal human element, a shared vulnerability. But a machine, programmed to kill, feels nothing. It cannot discern the nuanced difference between combatant and civilian based on a flicker of hesitation or a plea for mercy. This absence of conscience is not merely a technical limitation. It represents a profound erosion of a core human value, transforming conflict into a sterile, dispassionate equation. When the enemy is just a pixel, a data point, what happens to our own humanity when we decide to destroy it? Autonomous warfare further distances the human operator from the brutal reality of the battlefield. The enemy is no longer a person with a face, a family, or a story. They become an abstract target, a digital signature on a screen, a statistical variable to be eliminated. This psychological detachment, facilitated by technology, strips away the humanity of those being targeted. It makes the act of inflicting violence easier, less morally burdensome, because the direct visceral connection to suffering is severed. The act of killing becomes a remote task, a series of clicks and commands, rather than a confrontation with another human being. The danger here is not just for the victims, but for the moral fabric of those who wage such a dehumanized war. If we are made in God's image, what does it mean to delegate our power over life and death to something soulless? The biblical narrative, from its earliest pages, establishes humanity as uniquely created in the image of God. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27 proclaims this profound truth, imbuing every human life with inherent dignity and sacred value. Yet, autonomous warfare directly challenges this foundation by reducing human life to data points, by entrusting ultimate power over life and death to machines that cannot comprehend sanctity. We risk devaluing the very essence of what it means to be human. The spiritual implications are immense. If we abdicate our God-given responsibility for moral discernment in warfare, are we not implicitly denying the divine image within ourselves and those we target? From Babel to AI, humanity keeps building towers to heaven. Are these, destroying angels, another attempt to play God with catastrophic consequences? The story of the Tower of Babel in Genesis chapter 11 stands as an ancient warning against human hubris, a collective ambition to reach the heavens, to establish self-sufficiency apart from divine authority. Today, in our quest to create omnipotent, autonomous war machines, we see a modern echo of this ancient temptation. We are forging systems that mimic omniscience and omnipotence on the battlefield, systems that decide, execute, and destroy with a speed and scale that challenge human comprehension. This ambition to wield absolute power, independent of conscience or divine law, carries a profound spiritual danger, inviting unforeseen consequences that could shatter the fragile peace of nations. Even as humanity builds machines that decide life and death, an unseen architect remains on the throne. How does this fit into his ancient blueprint? Despite the chaos and the alarming advancements of human technology, one truth remains steadfast: God's ultimate sovereignty. From the cosmic order to the intricate clockwork of human history, His hand is evident. He is the master weaver whose grand design encompasses every earthly power, every invention, every ambition, even those that seem morally ambiguous or dangerously autonomous. Nothing is outside His control, and He can use even humanity's fallen desires and destructive creations to fulfill His overarching purposes, guiding events toward an ultimate, divinely ordained conclusion. In a world of machines, our choices matter more than ever. Will we choose wisdom or unleash the unthinkable? This age of autonomous warfare demands an urgent return to ethical and spiritual principles. It is a call to individual and collective moral discernment, an imperative to seek God's wisdom in navigating the complexities of technological advancement. As humanity delegates increasing power to machines, our responsibility to uphold the sanctity of life, to pursue justice, and to exercise compassion becomes paramount. The future of conflict, and indeed of humanity, hinges on the choices we make today, choices between unchecked ambition and a deep, abiding reliance on divine guidance. The relentless drumbeat of global conflict echoes across our news feeds. From distant skirmishes to regional conflagrations, the world seems perpetually on edge. Headlines scream of escalating tensions, military buildups, and the ever-present threat of a new, devastating war. The Bible, with chilling precision, foretold this very climate, warning of wars and rumors of wars in the last days. This isn't just a historical observation, it is a prophetic marker, a signpost in Matthew chapter 24 pointing to a future already unfolding. But what happens when the instruments of these wars are no longer merely human, but silent, autonomous machines? Are silent, autonomous machines the fuel for this prophetic fire, accelerating humanity towards an ancient, inescapable destiny? Beyond the sheer number of conflicts, a more terrifying characteristic of end-times judgment emerges from Scripture, its suddenness. For when they shall say, "Peace and safety," then sudden destruction cometh upon them, warns 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. This isn't a slow-burning fuse. It's an explosion without warning, a judgment descending swiftly and unawares. In the past, massive armies took time to mobilize. Battles were waged over days or weeks. Today, the advent of autonomous systems and AI-driven command structures means decisions can be made and strikes executed in fractions of a second. Imagine flash wars initiated by algorithms, preemptive strikes launched with blinding speed, leaving no time for negotiation, no moment for retreat. The Bible warns of judgment coming like a thief in the night. What if the thief is an algorithm, striking with blinding speed, bringing forth the sudden destruction foretold? The book of Revelation paints a stark picture of the end times, introducing us to the four horsemen, symbols of humanity's final journey. The red horse representing war and the pale horse symbolizing death and its grim companions of famine and pestilence are central to this vision. These ancient symbols resonate with terrifying clarity in our modern age. When war is waged by machines that feel no fatigue, know no fear, and operate with surgical precision, how much more devastating does the sword become? Autonomous warfare, detached and relentless, possesses the capacity to amplify the impact of these prophetic elements, delivering death and destruction on an unimaginable scale, potentially accelerating famine and pestilence in its wake. War, death, famine, the ancient prophecies are clear. Are autonomous weapons the digital hooves of the four horsemen, thundering towards us, ready to unleash their apocalyptic ride? As we turn the pages of Revelation, we encounter another chilling image: angels executing God's final judgments. They pour out bowls of wrath, sound trumpets that unleash cosmic cataclysms, and wield immense destructive power. These aren't human agents. They are impersonal, yet perfectly aligned instruments of divine will. Could humanity's own destroying angels, our autonomous systems, become unwitting tools in this ultimate unfolding? The precision, the detachment, the overwhelming force of these machines bear an eerie resemblance to the angelic judgments described in Scripture. When the angels of Revelation pour out judgment, will humanity's own destroying angels be their unwitting tools, instruments in a final, divinely ordained judgment against a rebellious world? Yet, amidst this convergence of technology and prophecy, a profound danger of deception emerges. Matthew chapter 24, verse 24, warns of false Christs and false prophets performing great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. In a world of autonomous warfare, where attacks come without a human face, and judgment falls without a discernible name or clear perpetrator, the potential for misdirection is immense. An autonomous strike could be attributed to anyone, or even perceived as an act of nature or supernatural force. The impersonal nature of these destroying angels could obscure true intentions, creating chaos and confusion, a perfect environment for a final great delusion. In a world of unseen attackers, how will we discern truth from deception? Could these destroying angels be part of a final great delusion, clouding humanity's ability to recognize the true hand at work? The book of Revelation speaks of a final, epic confrontation, a gathering of nations to a place called Armageddon. For millennia, this prophecy has stirred both awe and apprehension, painting a picture of an ultimate global conflict. But in our age, the very means by which such a vast, synchronized military convergence could occur have materialized. Global connectivity, satellite intelligence, and the burgeoning power of autonomous forces now enable rapid mobilization on a scale previously unimaginable. Nations can coordinate, deploy, and strike with a speed and precision that turns ancient prophecy into a terrifying modern reality. The sheer logistics of such a global conflict, once a hypothetical challenge, are now being streamlined by the silent, unblinking eyes of AI. Iran, Russia, Turkey. The prophecy of Gog and Magog is unfolding before our eyes. What terrifying weapons might these nations wield in the final days? The prophet Ezekiel, in chapters 38 and 39, describes a formidable coalition led by Gog, a prince from the far north, with allies including Persia, modern-day Iran, Kush, Sudan, Put, Libya, Gomer, and Togarmah, parts of Turkey. Imagine this ancient alliance, resurrected in our time, wielding armies of autonomous drones, AI-driven targeting systems, and networked swarm tactics. The combined destructive power, amplified by the cold efficiency of machines operating without human hesitation, could transform this prophesied invasion into an almost unstoppable force, striking with overwhelming precision across vast distances. The ancient vision gains chilling new dimensions through the lens of modern autonomous warfare. Humanity's destroying angels may bring devastation, but the Bible promises a final, overwhelming fire from heaven. Who will truly control the end? Even as nations assemble their most advanced autonomous forces, Scripture reveals an ultimate intervention. Ezekiel chapter 39 verse 6 declares, "And I will send fire on Magog, and on those who live in security in the coastlands, and they shall know that I am the Lord." No matter how sophisticated or destructive humanity's autonomous weapons become, they are but fleeting shadows compared to the unyielding power of the divine. This intervention is not merely a counterattack, but a cosmic reaffirmation of God's absolute sovereignty, a judgment that transcends all earthly technology and power. Amidst the roar of machines and the fire of judgment, a promise remains: God's people will endure. What does this mean for us today? Despite the dire prophecies of global conflict and divine judgment, the Scriptures consistently pivot to a message of enduring hope. Isaiah chapter 10 verses 20 to 22 speaks of a remnant, a faithful few who will survive and return, relying on the Lord. This is the ultimate promise, that God's plan extends beyond destruction to redemption and the establishment of His eternal kingdom. Even as the world convulses with technological and prophetic chaos, a people will be preserved, and peace will ultimately reign in a restored Jerusalem under the reign of the King of Kings. These are not just headlines, they are prophetic markers. Are you ready to discern the signs of the times and the true nature of these destroying angels? The rapid advancements in autonomous warfare, the shifting geopolitical alliances, and the ethical dilemmas they present are not random events. They are intricately woven threads in a larger, ancient tapestry of divine prophecy. We are called to watch and pray, to actively engage with Scripture, and to seek spiritual discernment. To understand the true nature of the destroying angels of our age is to recognize God's unchanging blueprint unfolding before our eyes, urging us to spiritual readiness and an informed faith. From the earliest whispers of ancient judgment to the silent hum of the autonomous drone, a singular, profound truth echoes through history. The universe is not chaotic. It is not an accident of algorithms or an unpredictable storm of human ambition. An unseen hand guides it all. We have traced the journey from the angel of death, striking with divine precision in the dead of night, to Assyria and Babylon, God's unwitting instruments of wrath, and even to Persia, His unexpected agent of redemption. Now we stand at the precipice of an age where machines, devoid of human empathy, wield unprecedented power. Yet, even in this era of algorithmic warfare, the master weaver remains on the throne. Every line of code, every missile trajectory, every global power shift is meticulously, intricately woven into his unfolding tapestry, moving towards a purpose both ancient and eternal. Nothing is outside his ultimate control, but in this grand design, God reveals not only his unwavering justice, but also his boundless mercy. Even in the face of judgment, his heart for humanity remains. The very instruments of consequence, whether ancient plagues or modern autonomous systems, serve a dual purpose. They are warnings, stern declarations of spiritual laws transgressed. Yet, they are also calls to repentance, invitations to turn back to the unchanging source of life and truth. Just as nations were judged, then offered restoration, humanity today is confronted with the stark reality of its own creations. Are these destroying angels a final, undeniable warning of a world detached from its Creator, or a poignant call to re-embrace the path of grace and seek true redemption? The door to turning back remains open, even amidst the escalating drumbeat of algorithmic war. The headlines scream, the machines advance, and the world rushes headlong into uncharted technological frontiers. But the ancient script gives us clarity. It is a time for spiritual awakening, for a sharpened discernment that sees beyond the immediate crisis and into the eternal blueprint. Will you choose to see? Will you choose to understand? Will you prepare? Now, more than ever, believers are called to actively engage with biblical prophecy, not in fear, but in faith. It is an imperative to pray, to seek wisdom, and to share the enduring message of hope that transcends all earthly conflict and technological marvels. For those who watch and discern, these unfolding events are not signs of despair, but markers on a divine timeline, guiding us towards the ultimate return of the King. So, after everything you've heard, what do you see unfolding? Do you believe these destroying angels are fulfilling a prophetic role today? Share your insights below in the comments section. Your voice is important in this critical conversation. And if this journey into prophecy, connecting ancient truths with modern technology, resonated with you, give this video a thumbs up and share it with those who need to hear this message. This lets us know we should continue uncovering more prophecies unfolding right before our eyes. And if you're ready to dive even deeper into the unfolding mysteries, click right now on the video you see on your screen. Understanding these times is more essential than ever. Blessings.